Welcome back to the Center Square Daily. I'm your host, Greg Bishop. Now let's get Illinois into focus. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's Illinois Accountability Commission releasing its report on alleged abuses by federal immigration law enforcement officers in Chicago and beyond, but it remains unclear if the report will lead to any prosecutions. The Center Square Illinois reporter Jim Talamonte reports the governor created the commission last October and directed it to document the conduct of federal officers during Operation Midway Blitz, examine the impact, the conduct, and consider policy recommendations. The governor creating that commission last October, directing it to document the conduct of federal officials and examine that impact and produce a report. And that report, Commission Chair Ruben Castillo says it's 204 pages, releasing that and showing a pattern of what they say is illegal and violent conduct by federal officers during Operation Midway Blitz. Now, Castillo said the report would be referred to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Cook County State's Attorney's Eileen O'Neill Burke provided the Center Square with a statement commending the bravery and witnesses who testified before the commission, but the office said under Illinois law, it can only bring charges after receiving a completed investigation from a law enforcement agency. Republican State Senator Chapin Rose, separately, holding a news conference in Springfield Thursday with Joe Abraham, whose daughter Katie died in a crash with a drunk driver who was in the country illegally. Rose said the system that Governor J.B. Pritzker's created has made us less safe. He's filed Senate Bill 4196 in the Illinois Senate to reopen the lines of communication between Illinois law enforcement agencies and their federal partners. Illinois law prohibits state and local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration officers. Meanwhile, after weeks of delay, the U.S. House Thursday approving the Senate's legislation reopening the Department of Homeland Security, the president signing that, ending the 76-day DHS shutdown. Now, all agencies except for Immigration and Customs Enforcement and U.S. Customs and Border Patrol will receive full annual funds. Now, Democrats across the country, they demanded reforms for ICE, including the removal of masks. But back in Illinois, masks became an issue this week with one particular bill. Democratic State Senator Graciela Guzman proposed a bill to prohibit employers from requiring employees to remove masks if those masks are being worn by the employees for medical purposes.
It's not a mask mandate, does not require anyone to wear a mask or any protective equipment. It protects the right of people who choose or need use protective medical equipment to do so without punishment or discrimination. I urge and I vote. Thank you.
Now, Republican State Senator Sue Rezin, she questioned how that will impact employers looking to enforce uniform standards.
What happens if an employer has an employee who wears a mask that has something written on the mask that they do not agree with? What happens?
So if an employer has a policy against wearing certain insignias, logos, that policy remains in place. An employer is permitted to ask an employee to wear protective medical equipment that complies with their personnel policies. So let's say that someone were to don a mask that had something inappropriate that was not conform to the uniform policy, they can ask them to switch their mask to something that is in compliance with the uniform policy, but they cannot deny their ability to wear the mask.
Now, Rezin criticized the bill and said it could tie employers up with the Illinois Human Rights Commission, where Rezin said businesses rarely succeed. Republican State Senator Seth Lewis pointed to what some would see as a bit of hypocrisy in the Democrats' bill.
I'm going to say words, I just need you to agree or disagree, that you as an elected official in your home district are no longer able to ask law enforcement or ICE agents to remove their mask if they are wearing it as a protective medical device. I think that's good, that we can no longer ask our law enforcement officials or ICE agents, as long as they're not wearing one of the two restrictions that are included in this bill, to remove their masks anymore. Or that all law enforcement has to say is it's a protective medical device. So I think that's a good provision that you've helped clear up, so we stop asking our law enforcement officers and forcing them to do things that they may or may not want to do.
Now, ultimately, Lewis urged his colleagues to vote against the bill ultimately passing and can now be taken up by the Illinois House. Both chambers return to the state capitol in Springfield Tuesday, and it's going to be a mad dash to the end of session deadline of May 31st, where bills, including the state budget, must be approved with simple majorities. Anything after that requires supermajority votes if the bill is meant to take effect immediately. So be sure to subscribe to the Center Square for the newsletter you can get into your inbox each and every weekday, only with thecentersquare.com. From my studios in Central Illinois, I'm Greg Bishop. You can join us back here Monday for more stories impacting you, the taxpayer, from all around the country, only with the Center Square Daily.